Thanks for the top and thanks for coming by. Yeah. Thanks for the top and thanks for coming by. Yeah. Oh, whoa. Yark, how's it going, man? I don't even know what that word is. How you doing today, Yark? Spate. A large number of similar things or events occurring or appearing in a quick succession. Interesting. Didn't know that was a thing. That's cool. That's good to hear. Yeah. I'm streaming a little bit later than I normally do. Generally, I start about 2 hours ago, but after last night's stream, I just couldn't fall asleep. I fell asleep at like 4:30 or something my time, so I woke up super late. It's gonna be a good day. I've moved up the art ladder and can do chibi GIFs now. That sounds awesome, man. It's 1 a.m. here. Shit. 1 a.m. So you've got to be a lot ahead of me. So I'm thinking you're somewhere in probably Asia or maybe near Australia, maybe? Viola, how you doing today? Blaze, how's it going, bud? Did you finish? Blaze, did you finish Volume 1? Southeast Asia. Okay. Because it's just about to be 1 o'clock p.m. here, so you're 12 hours ahead of me. So fat. Kami, how's it going, man? My girl on the side, and I woke up high. It's gonna be a good day. Thanks for the top and thanks for coming by. Amnesiac, how's it going, man? Thanks for the top and thanks for coming by. Corkscrew, curveball, row, fat. Bombshell, twist, curveball, wrench, metaphors for something unexpected. Good. All right, we got one. I can now fail with impunity. I feel fine. I'm so bad at connections that as long as I get one, I feel pretty happy with myself. Fat, iron, DNA, no. Fat, protein. Only 2 more chapters to complete volume 1. Ah, good shit, good shit. Let us know when you get there, okay? It's one hell of a twist and turn. If you ever get, good lord, if you ever get the chance after you finish volume 1, watch my stream for finishing volume 1. Holy shit, that was all the spectrum of human emotion in 5 hours. It was crazy. Protein, fat, iron, sodium. Oh, let's go. Info on our food label. DNA, cell, sheet, row, column, cell, Excel. things you can insert in a spreadsheet. Okay. DNA. Oh my god, I perfected it today. Good shit. Oh my god. DNA spring corkscrew. I don't even know what these have in common. Moon. How's it going, man? S-L-I-E. U-G-D-I-E. I don't know what this is. Helical. Oh, helical things. Ah, interesting. Helical. Sorry, not helical. Helical. Alright, good shit. Oh my god. I not only got connections, I got perfect on it? That's crazy. I think that's happened to me like twice ever. I'm dog shit at it. Alright. So it'll be probably not too long a stream just because, oh, good lord. Today is 278 to 284, and then at night I'm gonna go from 285 to 295 because Ramiro told me that those have to be read together. And of course, I never disagree with Ramiro, so... Well, I mean, only when he's wrong. Alright, don't tell him I said that. Alright, I know... Well, no, we still have a couple of minutes. We'll wait for 4 more minutes until it's 1 o'clock my time, and then we'll start then. Let's do Worldo. This one I'm especially bad at because I'm no geography nerd, but we're gonna do it anyway. I need to turn off dark mode. I can't see a goddamn thing. Okay, that's a tiny ass island nation. Papua New Guinea, maybe? Oh, that's such a bad guess. Oh, that's such a bad guess. Okay. Barbados? Oh, shit. Okay. I have no more guesses. I don't know. American Samoa. I don't think that's that close to Barbados. You think that looks like New Zealand, Kami? Ramiro, how's it going, man? 2-1 Barbados. Oh my god, I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna get it from here. This is so depressing. Ramiro, how you doing this fine night for you? I don't know, I just said a random thing. Okay. Aruba, maybe? This is so sad. I'm not gonna get it. Oh, this is so depressing. It's gonna be some dog shit like Bouvet Island. Like, who's ever heard of this? Aside from the 9 people who live here. Devil, how's it going, man? One of my favorite fanfics updated, so I'm happy today. That's good. Lord of the Mysteries fanfic or what? Celestial, how's it going, man? S-L-I-E. D-I-E. Ramiro reads fanfic? What part of Ramiro's personality that we understand tells you that he wouldn't? I'm sorry, that may sound mean, but I didn't intend it to be. I just meant like that seems in character for him. You know what, Devil? Do you do all the fucking what do you call it, daily games, Devil? Like, good lord. No, I'm gonna look at how close I am. I'm gonna fail this, and I'm gonna be so ticked because look at these guesses. I wrote a 45,000 fanfic once. Holy shit! I'm gonna fail this from here. I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. Thanks for the top and thanks for coming by. Yeah. Haiti? You've never played Worldo, you just know the country, I see. This is so depressing. You're kidding. What is this? Ah, no, devil. I'm gonna fuck it. I might as well just fuck it by myself. It's all good. Alright, last guess, and then it's 1 o'clock. We're getting started. Grenada. Oh my fucking god. Dude, look at this guest stream. Went from 15% to 95 minimum. Couldn't fucking get it. I hate this place. Dr. Z, how you doing? This fine night for you, I think? Night, yes, I think. He'd probably be like 10-ish hours ahead of me or something. All right, let's get started. Is that the Sri Lanka flag I see? Where? Was it somewhere? I don't think so. Oh, yes, it is. I see. Yes. Yo, author cooked too hard. I know they stuck their face in the computer. Yeah. Alright, let's get started. After dinner, in the billiard room of the Braveheart bar, dressed in a simple black coat and dark cap, Klein held his glass of Southville beer, closed the door behind him, and walked over to Casper's, who bent over the table, trying to hit a ball. Before he could muster a smile and say hello, Casper stopped what he was doing, straightened up, and glanced at him. Merrick isn't here. There are no gatherings you want. I have nothing but weapons. He's so fed up with Klein showing up every day. Fuck. Very familiar with what I want. Fortunately, I have a different goal today. Klein curled the corner of his lip and said, I'm here to buy weapons. Merrick isn't here. From the looks of it, they've been exposed and are targeted by their enemies. They've decided to switch locations, then I won't be able to contact Miss Bodyguard. And I was planning on tricking Millet Carter with Merrick's zombies as my helpers. They'll keep a secret, they're obedient, and they're unafraid of death. Well, the premise of their obedience is when the influence of Azek's copper whistle is shielded. As he spoke, a series of thoughts flashed past Klein's mind. Casper's was slightly surprised. With a look of suspicion, he leaned over and said, What kind of weapon are you looking to buy? Have you finished the previous bullets? That's a lot of practice. No, I practiced with the bullets I bought at the Quelaag Club, Klein smiled. I want to buy explosives, the kind that are widely used in mines. Now that you and Easy are close chapter-wise, I keep messing up what I can and can't say. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. We're going to catch up to him, and then I'm going to go on and then I'm going to go on a 2-week hiatus, and then he's going to get ahead again, and then we'll catch up again. All good. No problem. Again, I'm going to try that while I'm there, I'll stream, even if it's just like 5 chapters a day or something, which at this point will take me like an hour and a half a day or something. Go past him to show dominance. Yeah, just wherever he is, just stay 1 chapter ahead of him. Like, oh, he's at 301. I'm at 302. What do you want to do? Casper's blurted out. I'm watching you. Don't try to do anything condemnable. I won't allow my customers to challenge Civilis Yard. Of course, you don't have to buy weapons from me. To be able to become a black market merchant and live to this day, from a certain point of view, he must abide strictly by the rules. At the very least, he wouldn't sell to those crazy fellows. Klein habitually gave his evaluation from a Nighthawk's point of view and smiled. You seem to have misunderstood something. I'm not going to blast open the door of a bank vault or try to create any sensational news. I'm helping someone with the demolition of a building, making it easier for subsequent renovations. Flexing chapter numbers is crazy. Hey, flexing chapter numbers is crazy when you're just reading them. When you're reading them aloud, it's crazy. When you're reading them out loud, it feels kind of warranted, okay? It takes so much more effort. What the fuck? Then why didn't you find a proper construction company? Casper's didn't let his guard down. That's a secret. That's a secret chamber. He doesn't want others to know about it. Do you know any reliable explosives experts? I'm not very good at this sort of thing, and I'm afraid the whole house would collapse. That's okay, doctors. Yeah, I do want to. I mean, it's a little bit for you guys, but it's mainly for me, if I'm honest. I've really been enjoying it, and I don't just want to leave it for 2 weeks, because one of two things is going to happen. Either I'm going to lose interest in 2 weeks, which I really doubt, but it's possible, because I'm a fucking child, or I'm gonna lie to you guys and just read ahead without it while it's not on stream. Oh fuck, yes, I do need to change music. Sorry. I'm not sure if anyone is interested, but one of my favorite what do you call it? One of my favorite artists of all time is called it's a song that's gonna get muted in the VOD. I don't think so. It shouldn't. One of my favorite artists of all time is Juice World, but of course he's passed away. So there's a guy on YouTube who does like remixes of his, who I really like. If you guys are ever interested, or you like Juice World, but that's really niche, so I'm gonna leave that. And now we will just get this up, and now let's get this party started. Oh, actually, I feel like the music is way too loud. Hold on. This is probably better, I think. Okay. When Casper saw that Klein was making considerations to ensure the house remained in good condition, the doubt on his mind immediately dispelled. Just as he was deliberating for an answer, an illusory voice suddenly rang out in the room. There's no need. A familiar feeling came over Klein. He quickly turned around and found Miss Bodyguard sitting on the chair in the corner without him realizing it. She was still wearing her regal black gothic dress and matching soft hat. Her face was as pale as ever, and her blonde hair and delicate features accentuated each other. Oh my god, are we going to get more of Miss Bodyguard? I thought she was done. Good evening, madam. Klein slightly bent his back and bowed. Good evening, ma'am. Sharon? Caspers did the same. Whoa, so her name is Sharon. Klein thoughtfully waited for her to speak. Merrick won't be coming back here again. If you need him for anything, leave a message according to the third method. Yes, ma'am, Sharon. Caspers, who had clearly seen a lot of things, seemed to have an instinctive fear of Miss Bodyguard. Upon hearing this, Klein interrupted. If I wanted to get Merrick's help, how should I get in touch with him? Through Caspers. Sharon answered simply. All right. Klein spread out his hands and said, oh yeah, what did you mean when you said there's no need for a demolitions expert? Sharon's blue eyes didn't waver in the slightest. I am one. You are one? You're a demolitions expert? Wait a minute, aren't you a Beyonder with special abilities? Probably at sequence 5? Why are you a part-time demolitions expert? Klein froze as he was at a loss for words. In the end, he chose to believe Miss Bodyguard as he said in deliberation. I'm gonna visit. Before he could finish, he looked at Caspers, indicating that the ensuing topic wasn't suitable for the ordinary person. Fundamentally, due to his body, a black market weapons dealer is indeed considered an ordinary person. Sharon looked at Caspers and said, prepare the explosives. £2. He'll pay. Yes, ma'am, Sharon. Caspers glanced at Klein and limped out of the billiard room, not forgetting to close the door behind him. Seeing Miss Bodyguard looking at him silently, Klein felt like he was being watched by a ghost. He quickly organized his words and said, I found Baronet Pound's address and visited him in the middle of the night. After recounting everything that Rafter Pound had told him, Klein began to deduce the process from the story. I think he lied in many areas, and it's impossible for a Viscount family to be so easily manipulated. If a child can notice something abnormal, how can the royal household and churches not sense anything? After Rafter Pound degenerated, he had many chances to interact with outsiders and other aristocratic members. As long as he showed a little courage, he would be easily able to resolve the problem. I consider myself a demolitions expert. All those firecrackers, Romero. Therefore, I think he must have been hiding something that has a high chance of being related to the underground structure. Please don't act like a pyromaniac. From the state of mind, it seems that the evil spirit won't be able to escape for a long period of time, so I plan to get some explosives and destroy the entrance to prevent others from getting in. I'm afraid I might accidentally release the spirit. Yes, Ma'am Sharon didn't confirm Klein's guess, but she didn't reject it either. At that moment, Klein hesitated and said, I don't know much about demolition, so I'm preparing to draw a layout and hire a demolitions expert to give me the positions to lay out the explosives and their corresponding weights. If I ask for your help again, how much would I have to pay? If it's too expensive, I'd be better looking for an ordinary demolitions expert. After all, I'm only getting £50 from him, while she charges £1,000 for 3 days. Free? Sharon's answer was still in her usual style of being tense. Free? Klein was shocked. From what he knew, free things cost the most. Sharon sat quietly before giving a brief explanation. After collapsing the entrance, I'll be the only one capable of exiting and entering. This is what I wish to do. In other words, you're confident enough on getting rid of the evil spirit and harvesting the items inside. In fact, destroying the entrance to help you eliminate any interferences or greed of others. After all, Beyonders of other sequences are unable to pass through boulders and dirt like a spirit. Yes, apart from the apprentice pathway, they don't know about the underground structure. Klein nodded. Deal. After saying that, he hurriedly added, can you borrow a few more subordinates from Merrick, subordinates with a tight lip? They'll be helpers to show it to Millet Carter. Alright, Sharon didn't refuse. And they became a pyromaniac last Wednesday. That's... I'm banned from using anything explosive after I blew up a flip. Klein deliberately didn't mention making any payment for that as he smiled. Then let's schedule it for 10 in the morning tomorrow. We have to explore the surrounding terrain in advance. We can't let the explosives cause any obvious damage. Sharon nodded slightly as her figure faded away into nothingness. Saturday morning, Gio once again rode in on a public carriage to the East Borough to confirm the results of her commission to confirm any results that her commissions might have. My god. After waiting for a transfer, she suddenly had the urge to buy a newspaper to read. She took out a penny, bought a copy of the Backland Bulletin, and quickly read through it, and her eyes froze on the news article on the 3rd page. At 7:10 last night, there was a serious explosion in the apartment building on 1 Darby Street in the East Borough. It's suspected to be a result of a gas leak. The explosion happened at Unit 3 through 6. The tenant died on the spot. Unit 3... 6? That's weird. The tenant died on the spot, to the point of having not leaving a complete corpse. At press time, this explosion resulted in 3 deaths and 16 injured. Duality of Klein. I'm not using your services if it's not free. Free things cost the most. I don't think he wants it to be free. I think he would want her to charge him a little. Like, she can charge him like £5 and he'll be like, dope. Because he'll be like, okay, well, she's getting money, so it makes sense why she's doing it. But generally, if and I mean, this is kind of true. And now, one of the best things my professor told me, or said to us in like first year uni was, he said, listen, anytime you get a thing and it's free, you're the sale. They're getting you. They're getting your information. And that's, so, yeah, that was clever. So it's kind of in the same vein as that. Isn't this the place that William rents? He's dead from a gas leak? No. Impossible. He would never be so extravagant and use gas. Even if there was an installation there. Did he end up like this because he had just accepted my commission? But Lanavis is a wanted criminal. If he discovers that someone's looking for him, all he should do is move. There's no need to kill people to keep a secret. Doing so would expose problems. This is the way this was done is too weird and radical, like it was done by a lunatic. He's just a swindler. Poor Williams. I will avenge you. I'll definitely find out the truth. Gio looked sadly and gravely at the public carriage parked in front of her and didn't choose to board it. She knew that it would be very dangerous to head to the East Borough now. She intended to go back at once and tell Forrest to get her moved to a spare rental house. Then she would head to the East Borough in a disguise and ask someone familiar to gain a preliminary understanding of the reasons and find traces of the killer's tracks. Remember the first tarot divination of Klein? Like the one that was done by the Beast Tamer or what? It's true that none of Miss Audrey's commissions are in danger. I suspect that as long as I didn't stop someone who is already a wanted swindler and didn't stop him from escaping, he wouldn't retaliate in such a vicious manner. I was careless. I was the one who caused William's death. Well, that didn't exclude the possibility that he was gathering information on other matters, thereby bringing his disaster. Gio closed her eyes and crossed the street on the waiting area to the other side. 10:14. After concluding the surface conditions of the fourth epoch structure, Klein and Miss Bodyguard, Sharon, arrived outside 8 William Street. Does anyone have any idea what Nightwalker's talking about? Not me, brother. Sharon had already vanished, and Millet Carter saw Detective Sherlock in his grayish-blue uniform cap and 3 assistants. It's convenient to explore like this. Millet Carter's eyes swept across the assistants, who were obviously good at fighting, and nodded in satisfaction. Your preparations were quicker than expected. Is one of them a snake-repelling expert? Yes, they're very good at repelling snakes. How could a zombie be afraid of being bitten by snakes? What is he gonna, like, super die? Last Wednesday in Persian culture is called that word. From ancient times, people would jump over bonfires for health, but over time, when explosions became more popular, it's stop. In the dark underground structure, Klein walked around the hall and raised a lantern in his hand. He thoroughly checked out if there were any other entrances. Of course, he didn't dare enter the tunnel that led to the innermost room, and the newly gathered snakes were, once again, blown away by a cold, biting wind. After receiving confirmation, he took the initiative to retreat to the side of the gate, where he watched, alongside the 3 zombies, as Sharon placed explosives at different locations. She looks very professional, Klein softly sighed. And without a doubt, the 3 zombies didn't respond to his musings. However, there was a reason for this. He was using his spirituality to wrap Azek's copper whistle, so as to shield against its negative effects. Otherwise, he would have encountered their abnormally passionate response. He had no intention of bringing this ancient and exquisite copper whistle with him, but considering that he had to guard against the evil spirit's manipulations, he could only sacrifice some of his spirituality. Miss Bodyguard, no, Miss Sharon said that she's an expert, and from the looks of it, she really isn't bragging. Was she in this line of work in the past, or does one of her sequence in her pathway make her skilled in this domain? According to the information I read from the Nighthawks, a few candidates like Sequence 9 Criminal, Prisoner, Warrior, Hunter, and 8 Sheriff, and 7 Weapons Master and Knowledge Keeper. The latter has a name, Detective. It's part of the Church of God of Knowledge and Wisdom. As for the rest, I'm completely clueless. Wait, Sequence 7 Detective? Weapons Master and Knowledge Keeper. Like, okay, Criminal, Prisoner, Warrior, Hunter, Sheriff. We know this, but Sequence 7... Weapons Master and Knowledge Keeper. Hold on, I didn't have this. Justin, how's it going, man? Hold on, I didn't have this. So, Weapons Keeper... No, not the same thing. Weapons Keeper, that's in the same thing as Sheriff. No, 7 is Interrogator. What the fuck is Weapons Master? Oh, Warrior Pathway. I do have this. Never mind. Okay, I do have this. But Detective. Do I have Detective? No, I don't have Detective. Where is Detective? Detective. Said by Klein. Sequence 7. Dope. Okay. Reader Pathways. Sequence 7 Detective. Do we know this? Is this known? Okay. I'll take your word for it. Sequence 7 detective. Okay, cool. It said from... Oh, it's part of the Church of Knowledge and Wisdom. Oh, I see. I see. Yes, thank you. I see. Oh, wait, hold on. So, oh, wait. Oh my god, this further proves my thing. Okay, so I said that I think the detective, the... Fuck, what's his name? Detective Isengard. I said that I think he is... your focus is not here today? Yeah, sorry. Detective Isengard is... was the Eye of Wisdom fellow, right? If that was true, he's obviously got to be a Beyonder, because if he's hosting Beyonder things, or like Beyonder gatherings, he has to be a Beyonder, especially because he has like a shit ton of stuff with him. So that would make sense too. I am a little bit tired, Dr. Z. Yes, apologies. I'm a little bit more scattered than usual. And if that's the case, then it would make sense that he's like detective, because he's a really good detective, right? Like, that's why he charges so much. And we know this when Forrest and Geo met him. And he was like, he spent a bunch of time reading, which would put him in the reader pathway. I mean, again, that could be a coincidence, but you guys always said there's no coincidences. So he spent so much time reading because he's off the reader pathway, and he's a good detective because maybe he's a sequence 7 detective. Oh my god. It's all falling into place. Oh my god. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely, I probably am. But, actually, no. You know what? Let's do a divination. Heads, I'm right. Tails, I'm wrong, okay? I'm wrong. Fuck. Damn. Damn, if that clutched up, we would have been really killing it. Oh, God, that would have been so good. Maybe I have to keep a physical coin with me. Maybe, like, a virtual coin doesn't work as good. I don't know. I don't have any coins in the room. I wonder which pathway Miss Sharon is from. Nothing seems to match. She even showed her ability to command the zombies. While Klein's thoughts were, wait, she can command zombies. Is she have the death pathway? But then, sequence 5, and she looks nothing like Azek. What the fuck? So, no, she can't be off the death pathway. What is she? Bro's not Klein. While Klein's thoughts wandered and he made all sorts of associations, Sharon set up the explosives and in passing lit the fuse. In passing lit the fuse? Hey, give me a warning! Klein only then jolted back to his senses and was startled. He started rushing out of the hall and entered the corridor outside. As for the 3 zombies, they calmly followed behind him. It's very safe here. Sharon suddenly appeared and floated beside him. Will the dust fall from the tremors over here? Yes. That's good, Klein said as he took another step back. Merrick also had zombies? Yeah, but we don't know what pathway Merrick is from. I don't know. I don't get the point. No? Yes, Sharon's, it wasn't because he was afraid of the explosion that followed, but because he couldn't feel at ease. 1, Sharon suddenly said. Huh? And explosion. The earth shook violently, and the plumes of dust fell from above. Klein's ears buzzed, and for a moment he couldn't help but understand anything else. He couldn't help but hear anything else. My god, I'm so scattered. What the fuck? If it wasn't for the fact that he was a clown, he would have immediately lost his balance and collapsed to the ground. Having been distracted and caught unaware, he started to cough. He saw boulders and mud rapidly fall in front of him as they instantly blocked the entrance. During the remaining tremors, Klein grip the copper whistle given to him by Azek and observe its reaction. Although he had divined beforehand that the expedition would be safe, he didn't dare to believe it completely, even if it was a revelation gained above the grey fog, since it involved the statues of the Orthodox gods. Therefore, he cautiously judged whether or not the evil spirit was freed with the help of Azek's copper whistle. The copper whistle was cold but mild. It had no abnormal changes. Completely relieved, Klein looked at the zombies on his side and confirmed one thing. His face is very dirty right now. That's good. It's in line with how I'm going to explain this to old Mr. Carter. I didn't waste my efforts in changing into a different set of clothes. He walked to the entrance and confirmed it was completely sealed. Without causing too much of a commotion, it's true that only those from the apprentice pathway and beyonders like Miss Sharon can enter in the future. By doing so, she has ruled out many potential competitors. No wonder it was free. Klein looked at the boulders and dirt before sighing. Of course, I can too. I have a condition similar to a spirit body, he added. But his expression didn't change. Let's call it a day. With an exaggerated snap of his fingers, he led the 3 zombies back to the house. As for Sharon, she had already disappeared. In the spacious basement, Millet Carter was nervously pacing back and forth, looking at the secret door from time to time. As he soon saw Detective Moriarty and his assistants exit, he let out a long breath. What happened inside? Klein deliberately panted and said that underground structure is too old. It hasn't been repaired in a long time. We were driving the snakes out, but with just a little bit of movement, it collapsed. The whole area collapsed. But we luckily were able to close the door and managed to escape in time. My God, that structure was that dangerous? Yes. There will only be a few ancient buildings that can be preserved. The rest will collapse in the river of history. I'll bring you in to confirm the situation. Will there be more collapses? Millet asked. No, this area is quite sturdy. Klein deliberately patted the dust off his body and coughed twice. He then led his employer into the entrance that was completely blocked. You can use this area, he pointed to the corridor. Millet was silent before he sighed. Thank goodness I didn't hastily send someone in to explore, but instead went to look for you. Otherwise, I would have had a burden of several lost lives. All right, this commission ends here. I'll pay you the rest of the reward. As he spoke, Millet took out his wallet, did a count, and somewhat embarrassed to find that he only had about £30 in cash. Fortunately, I still have other forms of money, otherwise I'd have to go to the bank. Do you mind taking gold coins? No, I don't mind any form of money. $20 is $20, bro. Bro almost had a lawsuit on his hands? Dude, no such thing. A couple people would have died. He's rich. They were poor. He was just going to give them a little bit of money. There's no like pro bono lawyers back then. The poor people probably just couldn't even afford a lawyer, so they just couldn't do anything. That's not a laughing matter, but you laugh through the pain. So, you know. The gold pounds in the Lone Kingdom could be in the form of gold coins unless they were in huge denomination. That was the guarantee of the denomination on paper money. However, in the past 100 years, after Emperor Roselle, the people of the Northern Kingdom became more and more accustomed to paper money. There were even some members of parliament who wanted to replace copper pennies. Gold, in the true sense of the word, had hardly ever circulated in the market. Only some of the old gentlemen would attach a fixed box on the other end of their pocket chain which contained a bit of gold in case of an accident. I'm not taking any notes right now. You're good. Yeah. It was to give them peace of mind and also a habit. It's rather... Write down how much paper money and how much coin he received. He received £30 in cash and then £10 in gold, no, I think. Millet nodded, opened, and following the gold chain on his clothes, he pulled out a box that flickered with golden light from a certain pocket. He opened the pocket and took out 5 gold coin, handed them together with the notes he had previously counted to the detective. Klein didn't hide his actions as he counted the money and flicked a gold coin and caught it coolly. Thank you for your generosity. He then pressed his hand to his chest while facing Millet Carter. He then took out 5 gold coins. So I'm going to guess a single coin is worth It's just unnecessary there. Hold on. So a gold coin is worth £1 or is it worth £2? Because I was under the impression that this was £50. The entire contract was £50. He was given £10 earlier. Right? Am I misunderstanding this? So shouldn't he just have £1 left? Or shouldn't he just have, and then he had £30 in cash. So shouldn't he be owed 10 gold coins? Didn't he just get shorted 5? Am I losing it? I mean, I'll write it down. I don't know why, but I'll write it down. Sure, whatever. World building, I guess. Klein. Received £10 up front, £30 in cash at the end, and 5 gold coins worth £1 each. Okay, I might just be miscounting or misremembering something. I feel like he just got shorted £5. But, okay, yeah, again, I'm missing the forest for the trees here. This is the most useless thing I'm spending this much time on. If it were any other detectives, even if they demolished the entrance, they would definitely have nightmares upon returning. They would hear things, and their minds would turn weak. They would feel like they're being watched all the time and experience other problems. That's the corruption of the evil spirit's aura. It will take a long time before the effects disappear. But we're different. Miss Sharon is like a ghost to begin with. As for me, I'll be completely fine once I go above the grey fog. As for the 3 zombies, they aren't even afraid of death, so what's there to be afraid of? Arriving on the street without even informing him, the 3 zombies walked in the other direction. Miss Sharon is gone. She really didn't collect any money for the zombies, Klein smiled. He then went home and changed into his normal clothes and headed for the Quelaag Club. After also settling his dinner as a reward for the successful completion of his mission, Klein returned to Minsk Street in a public carriage. The dark, gloomy environment was illuminated by gas lamps, and with his cane he strolled leisurely across the street. Suddenly he had a premonition which wasn't too good or bad. What's going on? When Klein looked up, he saw 2 police constables with a dog on a leash, apparently investigating the street. Investigation with a police dog. Is this the result of a serial killing? The scene of the murder had the smell of cloves and gooseberries, so they included a police dog. Klein couldn't help but lampoon. God, this motherfucker can never help but lampoon. Jesus. Do something else. The history of dogs dated back as far back as the Roselle period, but the numbers had always been small. Considering that he had many things on him, and considering his earlier premonition, Klein decided to take a detour. But at that moment, the 2 policemen saw him and signaled for him to stop. The corners of his mouth twitched as he waited in place with a smile. Routine investigation. As they approached, one of the police officers showed his identification documents. All right. Before Klein could finish, the dog growled at him and barked endlessly. Is this because of the smell of gunpowder? The smell of gunpowder from my afternoon practice? With a thought, he smiled and said, "It's this. I picked up a revolver on the way, and along with a firearm holster and bullets. I was planning on handing them to the police." Slowly, he took out the revolver and said, "Officers, I'm really not bearing an illegal gun." The constable remained on high alert and said, "You have to come back to the police station with us." "All right, but I have a request. Please, inform my lawyer, Mr. Jurgen Cooper. I will only accept a body search with him around." Whoa, they're getting frisky. Woo. In the corner of Eastborough, a drunken Xeon faced the wall, pulled off his pants, and began watering the moss in comfort. What the fuck am I watching here? When he was done, someone patted his shoulder. Xeon couldn't help but shiver a few times. He picked up his pants and turned around to see a short boy in a canvas jacket. The boy raised his head, revealing a mild and delicate face. "Gio, why are you dressed like that?" Xeon blurted out. Gio put her index finger to her lips to indicate the need for silence. "I'll ask you, and you answer. Keep your voice down." Xeon could only nod. Which of the guys that William knew had died in the past 2 days? Gio asked in a low voice. Xeon used his alcohol-paralyzed brain to carefully think and said, "Gavin. Gavin was found to have drowned in the Tassoc River this morning." No, Romero, no. Control yourself. You don't let the... He probably fell into the river last night. The poor sod doesn't know how to swim, and he just likes to enjoy the wind by the river when he's drunk. Without any hesitation, she said, "Did Gavin accept Williams' request to look for Lanavis?" "Of course, we all got this commission from Williams. Anyway, it's not like it's a big deal. All we have to do is show the portrait to everyone and keep an eye out for the guy who looks like him. Williams said that if there's a clue, he'll treat me to 3 days of booze and meat. The poor fellow actually died in a gas explosion. That's why I have to refuse to have my landlord install a gas pipe. That was months ago. I can only afford a cheap motel now." "What region is Gavin in charge of? Did he mention anything to you?" He usually goes to the dock area near the East Balam dock. He even met me yesterday and said that he went to the Workers' Alliance to spread the search for Lanavis, and that he showed the portrait of Lanavis to everyone there. There were many docks in Backland. Most of them were considered dock area and designated shipyards. After that, did Gavin say what he wanted to do? Of course, drinking. He planned on having a good drink before finding a place to sleep. The poor sod must have just felt hot and wanted to take a bath in the river, but forgot he couldn't swim. This Gavin didn't discover anything. He had gone to the Workers' Alliance and distributed leaflets to find Lanavis, but he ended up meeting his demise. It even implicated Williams. The murderer's reaction can no longer be described as extreme anymore. He's simply a lunatic. You finished Volume 1, Blaze? Yeah, I know. I took like 15 minutes off stream when I finished because I was like, I need some time to organize my thoughts because I don't know what the fuck was happening. So trust me, I get it. Sherwood Borough, Rice Police Station. Once again, Klein found himself huddled to a backrest-equipped bench with thieves and drunkards. How unlucky to think I would run into the police and fail to take a detour in time, all because of that damn serial killer. As Klein cursed to that particular person, he thought about how he wanted to hide his charms in herbal powder because he couldn't explain them, and dodge the body search that followed. He tried to put them in his black glove to find a chance to slip them into the hidden spot in the police station, only to retrieve them later. Imagine Lanavis began lampooning so hard he brings down the true creator himself. What? What did I just read? Just then his eyes lit up as he saw the young lawyer, Jurgen, with his hair neatly combed back. He was dressed like he was attending a banquet. Just as Cooper came over, he was accompanied by the police constable. "You can leave after signing your name," Jurgen said with his usual expression. "That's all?" "Yes, they know you're a well-known detective." What kind of reason is that? Klein didn't dare ask further. He immediately got up and followed Jurgen, who was wearing a black coat. He signed his name at a leisurely pace before leaving. The weather was different from the last time he was led out from the police station by Jurgen. There was no rain and only thick clouds obscuring the crimson moon and stars. The streets were illuminated by gas lamps that lined both sides of the street. "Thank you so much. I've troubled you once again." "There's no need to thank me. This is my job." £2. Klein immediately smiled and said, okay, and produced a two £1 note. Without a trace of politeness, Jurgen received the payment and said, if you're willing to enter a formal partnership, then every time you come, I'll only charge you £1. Of course, not for the cases that are serious. You have to understand that a large portion of my fees will go to the office. It's as if I would frequently be invited to the police station for some coffee in the future. They don't even have coffee. There isn't even a cup of water. Before Klein could answer, Jurgen added, for a private detective, getting in and out of the police station is something that happens once in a while. It's an occupational hazard. Well, I know very well that private detectives have a problem with the illegal bearing of arms and the illegal trespassing in other people's homes. Your response for this time was very good. The police couldn't find enough evidence to prove that you were bearing an illegal gun, and the explanation for the gunpowder on you was sufficient. The name of the Quelaag Club was enough to convince them. Otherwise, you'd most likely have to go to the magistrate's court. So you're not a suspect, but a good citizen. A good citizen who had a gun, handed it in. There was no need for a body search. All right, but I lost a revolver and the bullets. That's several pounds and the lawyer's fees. I understand, Lawyer Jurgen. Let's establish a formal relationship. 1 is better than 3. No, 3 is better than 1. All right, well, you guys would know. I know it's not popular, but I think 3 is not that good. Alright, but The corner of Jurgen's mouth twitched. I hope for a pleasant partnership. I sincerely hope that I don't have to see you too often. That's not something that's up to me. Klein gave a soft deprecating laugh. Back at home, he eased himself with a hot bath, but at that moment he once again heard an illusory prayer coming from a woman. Miss Justice, is this regarding Lanavis? Klein suddenly jumped out of the bath, quickly dried his body and put on his clothes, and went above the grey fog. Honorable Mr. Fool, there's been an investigation regarding Lanavis. Justice, who was wearing a white gown for an unknown reason, recounted to the explosion that happened on Darby Street on the East Borough, as well as Gavin's drowning. As a telepathist who had already gained some mastery, she didn't add her own guesses, lest it affect the judgment of Mr. Fool. After carefully listening, Klein frowned, feeling that the killer's reaction was unimaginably extreme. Unlike the Vice Admiral, Lanavis, who was a swindler, would immediately move if he discovered something amiss. That would be his instinct. There's no need to follow the clues in reverse and kill those who are seeking him. According to this standard, 80% of the borough's bounty hunters would die. This would cause a sensation and cause the case to be taken over by the Nighthawks, Punishers, or Hive Mind. Has the benefits Lanavis gained from the ritual of praying to the true creator to send his son down left him mad? This is very consistent with the style of the true creator, but the problem lies in the fact that it would be difficult for a lunatic to hide himself. Apart from the potential, Klein fell into deep thought as he was in no hurry to respond to Miss Justice. Alright, Blaze, when you're ready to talk about it in the future, send a message in the Discord, we'll talk about it. Justice is lucky for Mr. Fool is a real gentleman. He had read the newspapers and known about the explosion, so he used dream divination to recall the detail. Then he wrote a new divination statement. Clue to the explosion on Darby Street. As he recited it silently, he leaned back in his chair and entered a dream. He saw a 3-story grayish-blue apartment. On the 3rd floor of the apartment, a room had lost its window and half the walls had been destroyed. It was filled with signs of an explosion. The scene quickly shattered. Klein woke up from his reverie as he tapped the edge of the table and thought to himself, the clues are at the scene of the crime. This revelation can also mean the murderer is still watching the crime scene and wants to finish off the person who comes to investigate. Alright, sounds good, Blaze. Thanks for popping by, buddy. I appreciate it. Yes, this will give him a chance to find the person who issued the bounty for Lanavis. I'll visit the crime scene in disguise and see if I can find the killer. Even if he isn't Lanavis, he must be connected to him. Queen, thanks for popping by. How you doing? But he must have hidden himself well. How can I find him without attracting attention? A thought passed by Klein's mind, and it was cast onto the all-black eye on the long bronze table. a beyond her characteristic left by the marionettist. In the real world, I can't use this item to manipulate those strange threads because of the residual mental corruption from the true creator. There'd be irreversible harm with interacting with it, but if it was used temporarily, I can use the threads to find a hidden person. That's somewhat acceptable. It's just like how I used it to determine if Miss Bodyguard had left previously. Klein narrowed his eyes, removed the spirit pendulum, and divined if his trip would be dangerous. The answer was positive, but it wasn't excessive. It's an acceptable level of risk. I'm hanging in there, locking in all week for the move. Oh, you're moving? That's acceptable. Klein was silent for a few seconds before returning to the real world. Then, by summoning himself, he placed the black eye into the iron cigar case and brought it back to his bedroom. After changing his clothes and sticking his beard on and getting ready, Klein came before the mirror and examined himself, a faint scholarly vibe that he had completely concealed by the beard on his face. Somewhat close, Queen, or is it like a big move, like you're going far from where you currently live? Looking at the mirror, he said in a low voice, "Captain, this is the first step to avenging both you and me." Before he finished the sentence, he saw himself grinning in the mirror, a brilliant smile on his face. Am I weird for not shipping anyone? I've generally not been, I generally don't ship people in like any series, so I don't think so. In the suburbs west of the North Borough, and a soon-to-be abandoned 3-story house. It originally belonged to the Backland Medical School, but the latter's main campus had now moved to a better, more suitable location, leaving only a small number of teaching staff and students who were left guarding the area and failing to graduate. Audrey was wearing a white gown and white mask. Her smooth blonde hair was coiled up and stuffed in a cool-colored surgical cap. Your mortal ideology cannot bind me. I will always ship Audrey and Klein. Audrey's a child, Nightwalker. Are you trying to get Klein arrested? What do you think is happening here? I'm moving just outside my hometown. Okay, so hopefully shouldn't be too much of a hassle. You should probably be okay. I remember the last time we moved houses, it was like driving like an hour and a half. Jesus Christ, that was not fun. She darted her eyes to the side and looked at Forswall, who was dressed in the same way. She always felt that Fors had a special temperament that made her seem much more suited to such attires than herself. It's the kind of temperament that allows her to pick up a scalpel and cut open a patient's stomach at any moment. Audrey didn't say anything. She followed a half a step behind Fors as they entered the classroom in front of them. She was startled by information she had received from Fors because Fors had said it was a simple task. Considering the simplicity of said task might be from Mr. Fool's point of view, Audrey took advantage of the moment when she was alone, changing into disguise. To recite the honorific name in silent prayer so as to report everything that had happened. However, she had still yet to receive a response. After passing through the door and entering a room, Audrey instinctively looked around and found that this wasn't an ordinary classroom. There were actually 4 skeletal specimens and 4 coffins made of glass. The coffins were filled with a pale naked corpse that was soaked in preserving agents. Wait, I lied. I shipped Klein's money. Okay, you know what, Queen? You're right. I can get on board with that one. You're right. I can get on board with that one. At the very top of the classroom, there was a transparent glass pillar that was filled with a liquid. Floating inside was a male corpse that wore a black scholarly robe. The corpse's clothes stuck closely to its body, giving off an extremely heavy feeling. He didn't relax and simply floated upright in the middle. It was as if he had died by drowning instead of being placed in there after his death. Audrey made a preliminary judgment based on her attitude as a spectator. In addition, she saw a number of men in white coats, white masks, and surgical caps sitting around the long room. None of them said a word, just like the bodies with bones around them. Bodies and bones around them. Looking at the crimson moon, which had finally peeked out of the gloomy darkness, Audrey instinctively turned her head to look at the scene in the classroom. For a moment, she couldn't help but shudder as this place instilled instinctive fear. Celestial, Klein X Evernight or Klein X Force. But at the same time, she felt excited and agitated. This is what the life of a Beyonder should be, Audrey muttered to herself. After waiting for a while, the black-clothed male corpse inside the upright jar suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Let's begin." What? What? Did the corpse just get up? What is happening? Eastborough, Darby Street. In his usual dusty grayish-blue worker uniform and cap, he walked along the dark street that had only a few gas lamps that were still working. There was candlelight shining from the various apartments on both sides of the street. This was combined with the crimson moonlight that passed through the clouds with great difficulty, and they barely outlined the silhouettes of the pedestrians. Klein encountered people with old, tattered clothes, their face numb with despair. They were the homeless who had been chased away by the police. They had no place to sleep, so they wandered aimlessly. Occasionally, they would find an inconspicuous corner or park bench to rest at for a while, but they were soon chased away again. In the cold and dark night, Klein felt that there were more zombies than the zombies he had seen, and the entire Eastborough was more like an abyss than the legendary abyss. Jesus Christ, that is horrifying. He hurriedly took a quick breath, and which hurt his throat, causing him to cough involuntarily. He quickly gathered his thoughts and looked through the corner of his eyes at the apartment on the corner of the building. It had obviously suffered from an explosion which hadn't been repaired yet. The best place to monitor the crime scene is the apartment across the street. The third and fourth floor and the roof all meet these requirements. Klein analyzed the situation from knowledge he had learned as a Nighthawk. Throughout the whole process, he didn't slow down his pace or to avoid arousing suspicion. At the end of the street, Klein smoothly crossed the apartment building numbered 1 and entered the building across from the crime scene. The one-bedroom apartment he had rented in the Eastborough was similar to this apartment, and he had also lived in an apartment of slightly higher class with his brother and sister in Tingent City for a long time. It was Klein's personal experience, but it also came from memory fragments of the original Klein. As his thoughts raced, Klein lowered his cap, lowered his head, and without rushing in, he walked up the creaking stairs to the third floor. Due to his unlucky encounter in the evening, he no longer had a revolver, so all he could do was stick one hand into his pocket and hold a few tarot cards in between his fingers. It's the evening. Why didn't he just go back to the bar and just get another revolver? Better yet, I have to say, it's kind of stupid that he hasn't had fake documents made yet. There was no light other than the faint moonlight in the corridor of the third floor. Klein was in a hurry to move forward, so he carefully observed the layout. Last night when Easy said Alice Klein's the spot directly across from the street, the crime scene is on the left. The one with the best view should be the third room from here. Klein began to slowly move forward. After walking past the first two rooms, he inserted his right hand into his pocket and gently opened the iron cigar case. After a split second, he touched the all-black eye and heard murmurs in his ears as they attempted to tear his mind apart. At the same time, with the help of the corrupted item, Klein saw many strange black lines. These thin lines floated in the air, and although they were intertwined and entangled a little, he could still distinguish who they had belonged to if he traced them back to the source. The corresponding figures were reflected in Klein's soon-to-be soaked brain. They were men, women, children sleeping in their bunks, and several tenants lying on the floor. Other than that, there were no special spots, nor were there any hidden figures. The illusion in front of him and the auditory hallucination in his ears slowly improved as Klein quickly retreated his hand from the all-black eye. He endured the pain as he continued to move forward. Once he found some relief, he would immediately observe the next room. Unfortunately, his efforts of searching the entire apartment to see if there was a place that allowed the observation of the crime scene was in vain. Klein cowered in the corner of a balcony. His hand was on his knees as he panted heavily. Tears streamed from the corner of his eyes. From time to time, his nose would run as if he had fallen sick. This was the result of repeated contact with the all-black eye in a short amount of time. Even with Klein's resistance, he wasn't completely immune. I would feel like the best place to observe would be the roof. The only thing that satisfied him was that it only agitated him and didn't corrupt him. Otherwise, he would have given up long ago and wouldn't have dared to try again. That would have led directly to devolving in madness. After a while, Klein finally calmed down, switched to a different apartment that didn't have the same view, but it was still for naught. Did I interpret it wrong? Are the clues are at the scene of the crime? When Klein returned to the street, he looked suspiciously out of the corner of his eye to the apartment with traces of an explosion. With the mindset of just giving it a try, he put his hand back into his pocket, pushed the metal case open, and stuck his hand inside. He wanted to see if anyone was hiding in the apartment with the crime scene. With a hum, his head suddenly felt like it was being smashed as his body wobbled a little. Like a drunkard, he staggered forward and looked at the apartment, which had signs of an explosion. As he was too far away, he couldn't clearly see the black lines, nor could he trace the source of the black lines. He could only barely distinguish where they had gathered. This indicated that someone was present. No. Klein quickly swept the area and made a rough judgment. Suddenly, he noticed the black lines floating out from the crime scene on the third floor, which merged into the air. There's someone in the destroyed room. That murderer is actually crazy enough to wait for investigators to come to the crime scene? Isn't he afraid of the official Beyonders? I made a wrong judgment and failed to find him because I shared a different sense of logic from the lunatic. Many thoughts flashed past Klein's mind as he slowly exhaled and pretended that nothing had happened while he walked in a circle and reached the entrance of the apartment building. With all the negative effects that he had suffered had been quelled, controlling his facial expression and body language, Klein headed up to the third floor as if he was going home, his footsteps quick and heavy with fatigue. With the darkness of the corridor, he caught sight of the doorless room, which had half of its walls collapsed. He then casually headed inside of the public bathroom. As he neared the room, his hand, which had been in his pocket, touched the all-black eye. Again, the murmurs and hallucinations assaulted him, but in the corner of his eye, he saw the illusory thread spread out among the crime scene. As he traced the source, he found a man who was completely merged into the shadows. His aura was the same color. The man was extremely tall, almost 2 meters in height. The corners of his mouth drooped slightly, making him appear rather eccentric. His cold eyes were like that of a wild beast, possessing a ferocity that shouldn't be hidden. Who the fuck is this guy? That's not Lanavis. Klein withdrew his fingers, relaxed his body, and avoided the likelihood of staring. He entered the bathroom without stopping, nor did he alarm the man. The public bathroom and the crime scene weren't on the same side. He wiped off the cold sweat, and after quelling the negative effects, he directly jumped out the window, climbing skillfully before leaving with brisk steps. He didn't stay a moment longer. He knew that in a few moments, the man would be alerted to the absence of someone who had gone to the bathroom, so he had to get away as far as possible. It wasn't that Klein didn't want to walk back the way he came from, he just didn't know which room he could go to. It would similarly expose him. The clown quickly ran and circled around a huge area before entering the one-bedroom apartment he had rented in the East Borough. He then went above the grey fog to confirm that he was no longer in danger. That fellow must have some kind of deep connection with Lanavis. Klein conjured a portrait of a man from earlier, sending his thoughts to the crimson star that represented Miss Justice. He solemnly said, "This is a clue." What the fuck? Man. What is happening? Just inside the soon-to-be-abandoned medical school building, Audrey felt adrift. She saw the familiar thick fog and blurry figure. "This is a clue." Accompanying Mr. Fool's solemn voice were scenes like a film reel, a colored one at that. Whoa. A man who wasn't particularly muscular but was nearly 2 meters tall in height and wearing a black priest robe stood in the shadows. His light yellow hair was slightly curled, and his dark brown eyes were cold with malice. The corners of his mouth drooped slightly, making him look like a ferocious wolf. A clue. A clue to the bombing of the East Borough? And Gavin's drowning? This is the murderer? Audrey stared blankly for a moment before coming to an understanding. Mr. Fool already has a clue. He's really impressive. No, he's omnipotent. Well, in this case it would be omniscient, not omnipotent, but close. As soon as Fours removed her mask and surgical cap, she noticed Audrey's strange gaze. She said, "Is there something wrong with my face?" "Nope." Audrey looked away and sat down before removing her disguise. "Miss Audrey, why didn't you announce that you were purchasing the Spectator formula? You could have established contact with the psychology alchemists." She remembered that the generous Miss Audrey had maintained silent most of the time and only bought some spirituality-infused materials. Audrey smiled and said, "This is my first gathering in the circle. I think it's more important to observe and wait. I'm looking forward to the potion formula and even more so the mystical items, but I told myself there's no rush. It would be a better strategy to familiarize myself before taking action." There's also a professional habit of the Spectator pathway. Moreover, there were no beyonder ingredients like the dark patterned Black Panther spinal fluid or the Spring of Elves marrow crystals which Mr. World wanted to obtain. Looking at the girl who wasn't 18 yet, Fours suddenly felt that she was more mature than ever before. "If I had been like you back then, I wouldn't have wasted such a precious opportunity." Audrey gave a small, reserved smile before saying, "I'll ask some special friends in the morning if they have any leads on the Darby Street bombing. Wait for the information at the same place with Geo." "All right," Fours nodded. Instead of returning to Minsk Street, Klein slept in the one-bedroom apartment in the East Borough. He was afraid that the murderer in the priest robe had accomplices who would be searching the streets for him. Although the probability of meeting him wasn't high, he had disguised himself ahead of time, so that it was unlikely he could be recognized. His divination indicated there was a possibility to be cautious. Klein made do and decided to spend the night in the East Borough. At dawn, he changed into another dark blue worker's uniform, put on a light brown cap, and left the room. He went downstairs and into the street. Bro, how many fucking disguises does he have? At that moment, the white fog and yellowish tint shrouded the surroundings. There was blurry figures of people passing by, and the cold morning air was soaking into their clothes. Klein lowered his head and hurried along, like the people who had gotten up early for work. While walking, he saw a man in his 40s or 50s ahead of him. He wore a thick jacket and gray hair around his temples. He was pacing in place and fumbling for a cigarette while shivering. Finally, he took out a box of empty matches in his clothes inner pocket. Just as he opened the matchbox, his right hand quivered, and the crumpled cigarette fell to the ground and rolled in front of Klein. Klein stopped, picked it up, and handed it to him. As many as a clown might need. The right amount. Okay. Alright. Sherlock Moriarty, the master of deception. Yes. Again, I just imagine the true clown thing to do would be as best as possible to pull out that like handkerchief that like clowns have or whatever, or like magicians have, that's just never ending and it just keeps changing color or whatever. Like I feel like that would be the fucking... I feel like if he did that like 4 times, he would immediately digest the potion. Thank you, thank you. I can't live without this old friend. There's only a few left. The man thanked him sincerely and accepted the cigarette. His face was pale and appeared not to have shaved for a while. Exhaustion was expressed without reserve from the corner of his eyes as he lamented, I haven't slept for another night. I don't know how long I can last. I hope the Lord would bless me so I can enter the workhouse today. He's a homeless person who's been chased away. Why doesn't the king and minister allow you all to sleep in the park? Who knows, but to sleep in this kind of weather outside, it's very likely you'd never wake up again. It's still better in the day since you can find a warmer place. But this will make us lack the time or strength to find jobs. The man lit a cigarette and sucked on it delightfully. As though he had some of his strength restored, he walked beside Klein. It was uncertain if his destination was at the end of the fog or somewhere deep into the fog. Klein had no intention of exchanging pleasantries as he was about to speed away from the man, from him when he saw the man who he had spoken. What? Fuck, dude, I'm so sleepy. What the fuck? Okay. Klein had no intention of exchanging pleasantries and was about to speed away from him when he saw the man who had spoken clearly bend down and pick up a dark object from the ground. It looked like an apple core that had been nibbled clean. The man swallowed his saliva before stuffing the dirt-covered fruit into his face. He chewed it until it was mashed up, and before swallowing it with great familiarity, nothing was left. Looking at Klein's surprised eyes, he wiped his mouth and said, I haven't eaten in almost 3 days. This sentence struck at Klein's heart, causing him to feel indescribably moved. He silently sighed and said, I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. I'm a reporter. I'm currently writing about homeless people. Can I interview you? Let's go to the cafe up front. No problem. It's much warmer inside than on the street. If you can stay a bit longer after the interview, let me sleep for half an hour. No, 15 minutes. That would be even better. Klein turned to gape, momentarily at a loss for words. He silently led his interviewee to the budget cafe at the end of the street. The table and chairs in the coffee shop were quite greasy, due to the walls and windows inside. There were quite a few guests. The average temperature was much higher than the street. The man scratched at his throat, concealing his Adam's apple that was squirming from the fragrance. Klein motioned for him to sit down and went to order 2 large cups of tea, a plate of lamb stew with young peas, 2 loaves of bread, and 2 pieces of toast, and a serving of low-quality butter, and this serving of artificial cream for a total of 17.5 pence. Aw, what a good dude. Have some food. We'll interview you. We'll have the interview after you eat your fill. This is for me? The man said. Except for a piece of toast and a cup of tea, the rest is yours. The man wiped his eyes and said, You truly are a kind person. After starving for so long, make sure not to eat too quickly, Klein warned. I know, I had an old buddy who died just like that. The old man worked hard at slowing his eating pace, occasionally lifting the cup of tea to gulp it down. Klein easily finished the toast and watched quietly, waiting for the man to finish his meal. I haven't eaten until I was full in 3 months. No, half a year. In the workhouse, the food they give you is just enough. Klein, pretending to be a journalist, Klein casually asked, How did you become a tramp? What is a tramp? Oh, basically a vagrant. I see. It was bad luck. I was originally a worker leading quite a good life. I had a wife, 2 cute kids, a boy and a girl, but a few years ago an infectious disease took them away, and I stayed in the hospital for a long time, losing my job, my money, and my family in the process. From then on, I just couldn't find a job and didn't have money to rent a house or buy food. All I could do was wander on the street in different parks. This made me very weak and made it even harder to find a job. He took a sip of his tea and sighed and spoke again. I can only wait for an opportunity to enter a workhouse, but as you know, every workhouse only takes a limited number of people. With good luck, if I queue up in time, I can spend a few days in peace, recover my strength a little, and then find a temporary job. Yeah, temporary. Soon, I'll be homeless again, and the previous process will repeat. I don't know how much longer I can last like this. I should have been a good worker. Klein thought for a moment and asked, "How many cigarettes do you have left?" Not many. This is the last of my assets. The only thing I have left after I was chased out by the landlord. One can't bring them into the workhouse, but I'll secretly hide them in the seams of my clothes. I'll only take one out to smoke during the worst hardships so that I have some hope. I don't know how long I can last, but let me tell you, I was a good worker back then. Jesus Christ, this is so miserable. What the fuck? Klein wasn't a professional journalist and momentarily at a loss on what to ask. He turned his head to look out the window and saw the faces with obvious hunger plastered across them. Some of them were relatively sober and belonged to the residents of the East Borough. Some of them were a look of numbness and exhaustion, nothing like that of a human. Yes, sorry, let me change the music. There is no obvious gap between them. The former can easily become the latter. For example, the gentleman in front of me. Klein looked back. He discovered the man who had fallen asleep, his body curled up on a chair. After a few minutes of silence, he went to pat the man awake and gave him a handful of copper pennies. "This is payment for the interview." "Thank you. Thank you." The man didn't realize what was happening, and when Klein reached the door, he raised his voice and said, "I'll go to a budget motel, get a bath, get a good night's sleep, and then get a job." At noon, Klein attended the party at the Sammers. There were 10 guests. There was apple juice with steak. Apple juice with steak? What the fuck? Roast chicken, fried fish, sausage, cream soup, a lot of delicacies, 2 bottles of champagne, and a bottle of red wine. It was a sumptuous lunch. Truly delightful. Thank you for your hospitality. Klein thanked. It cost a total of £4 and 8 soli. The most expensive were the 3 bottles of wine, but they were all part of Luke's collection. He had a liquor cabinet, the pretty Mrs. Stellan said in response. Waiting for Klein to speak, she said, "You earned £10 from Mary's matter alone. If you can keep up the good fortune, you'll soon have a banquet like this. For people of our class, you have to invite friends once a month and be invited by friends." Klein, who was already used to her mannerisms, politely obliged. "Then I'll have to wait until my income settles at £400 a year like you." Stellan immediately raised her chin and said £430. Yes, oh my god. Dock area, East Balam, Workers' Alliance Tavern. Jill wore boots that gave her a huge height boost and stuck on a thick beard, making herself look like a short man. I love how she has boots that give her a huge height boost and now she's a short man. She tried to recall the portrait of from Miss Audrey, trying to engrave in her mind the image of the man who must have been the murderer. If Gavin had been killed by him, the murderer probably frequents this tavern. Gilles ordered a glass of rye beer and a lunch set before huddling in a corner and slowly eating. From time to time, she would look around fervently in order to search for the target. After a while, the tavern door opened again, and Gilles looked over. With one look, her pupils shrank so thin that they resembled needles as she became petrified. The patron who entered was nearly 2 meters tall. Ooh, we got Shaq entering the building. Let's go. All right, we can, I think, all clearly determine it's Shaquille O'Neal who's doing this. There's an alternate world in which Klein falls in love with a blind date and Lord of the Mysteries ends as a romance novel. Man, this is crazy. I'm going to be done 7 chapters in 2 hours? Because I only have 2 chapters left, and and it's only been an hour 15. This is crazy. We're moving at a crazy pace right now. Gio had been in the bounty hunter business for a long time. Many things were done on instinct without any thought. When she saw the patron who entered was nearly 2 meters tall, she instinctively lowered her head and continued to eat as if nothing had happened. Although the food entered her mouth, she didn't taste it at all. She endured dozens of painful seconds before slowly raising her head and pretending to look around casually. She saw the patron who had just entered was sitting in front of the bar, waiting for his booze and lunch. Soft, curly, pale yellow hair and dark brown beast-like eyes and a slightly drooping aura. Little by little, the details came into Gio's eyes. It's him. It's the suspected murderer, the man who killed Williams. Gio lowered her head again and slowly stuffed the rest of the food in her mouth. After a few minutes, she set down the tray on the bar along with the glass and left the tavern without looking back. Due to her high boots, they effectively masked the most obvious feature of her body. Outside, Gio slowed her pace and found a secluded spot to observe the people entering and exiting the tavern. After waiting for a while, she finally found an acquaintance, a technician named Burton who lived in the East Borough and worked in the East Balam dock. Bro needs to get on this 24-hour. No, I can't, dude. Maybe in another universe. No, I can't do energy drinks, dude. I only ever use... Oh, fuck. I only ever used energy drinks for exams. I'd get them before I went into an exam room, and that I'd hammer them. And I only found this because I found this correlation like my second year. Anytime I took an energy drink in the room with me, I got like a 7% bump on my grade, and I was like, man, that's pretty good. I don't know. It allowed me to just access more of my brain or something. I don't know. The young man liked to treat himself to a cup of shoddy rye beer in the noon or afternoon, as his salary only allowed him such a beer, and he couldn't afford to drink it every day. Gio nimbly darted around and patted Burton on the shoulder. She slowly lowered her voice and said, "It's me, Gio. It's me, Gio." Gio, Burton looked up and looked down at the short man and nearly failed to recognize him as the famous arbiter Gio Director of the East Borough. "I have something to ask you." Gio pointed at the nearby corner. "Are you doing a bounty mission?" "Yes." "Do you know that tall man in the tavern? You mean the one that's this tall and wears a fierce look?" "Yes." "You have to be sure." "That's him. He's been coming to the tavern often for the past 2 or 3 months. I've never seen him before. He's very fierce, completely unreasonable, and good at fighting. It's best you don't provoke him." "Yeah, when I saw that person just now, it was just like my encounter with the ferocious beast when I was young. I felt like I was in danger and wasn't a match for him, so I had to avoid him." "Do you know anyone he's in close contact with?" "No idea. He's not very sociable and doesn't speak a lot. We don't even know his name. We were just given a nickname, Giant." Where else have you met him besides the tavern?" "You can ask your friends the same question. Remember, it has to be a trusted friend." Burton recalled and said, "When I went to the dock union to do some work, the East Balam dock union, I would occasionally see him there." "Gio, why aren't you a member of the union? You're so just, and those guys only charge a solai and a half a week. But when the other dock workers go on strike, they pay us half our salary because we have to support our families." I need energy drinks now. Oh. No, I can't do them. I feel like I would just have a heart attack. Plus, they all taste like dog shit. Oh my god. Like, the only one I've ever really had was Monster, but like the regular Monster, from what I hear, the white Monster is much better. But my uni didn't have the white Monster in the vending machines. We just only had the regular, so I just had those instead. Yeah, not a huge fan. I just survive on, I don't know, 18 cups of coffee a day. It's closer to 3, but you get the point. Lord, let's just forget about it. In order to live a good life, we must help each other. However, once they all organize a strike, they'll come to an agreement with the lawyers sent by those rich people. Our situation doesn't improve at all. Stop. Stop, Gio said. Apart from that, have you seen the giant anywhere else? No. My friends probably haven't either. After all, we only discuss him in private. Gio didn't say anything more and gave him 5 copper pennies. Drinks are on me. Don't tell anyone about what I asked. It's very dangerous. Before she finished her sentence, she already turned around the corner and headed to the dock union located on the East Balam dock. About 10 minutes later, Gio saw the 2-story yellow building. She wore her canvas coat inverted and exposed the patches beneath, instantly transforming herself from a short worker to a tramp. He drank the monster potion. Yes, I have had just enough monsters to have half a sequence of the monster potion, like a Demisol. Gio looked at the homeless people huddled around the corner, pinched her nose, and went over to sit beside them. She glanced at the dock union opposite, where people were coming in and out. If I don't get my daily energy drink, I literally get withdrawal symptoms. Yeah, caffeine will do that to you. That's not good. Take some time away from it. As the minutes passed, Gio endured the cold and harsh environment while tenaciously observing the situation around the dock union and observing the surrounding area. She clearly remembered William's insistence on drinking. She also remembered how he had felt when she saw the newspaper that fateful day. Those feelings made her feel even more patient than usual. At that moment, about 8 people came out of the dock union. They were headed across the cafe to have lunch in groups. Gio narrowed her eyes and carefully scanned each and every one of them. There's no one suspicious. Gio was about to look away and wait for the next batch of people when the door to the coffee shop creaked and was pulled open as the heat from within rushed out. A man couldn't help but take off his gold-rimmed glasses and wipe the fog away from his sleeves. Those eyes. It's Lanavis. Gio jerked her head back, not daring to look again. The man from before had bronze skin and short hair. His face was craggy. He was very different from his portraits, except that his eyes and mouth gave a familiar feeling. It was the feeling of taunting everyone. Could it be Lanavis? Gio bowed her head. Oh shit, we got him, boys. Okay, I can see what... Okay, I can assume what's gonna happen in 85 to 95. Okay, I can see why. You take medical grade caffeine pills? They do exist, but I don't know why you do that. You just have coffee or like pre-workout or some shit. Not sure if the local pharmacy has them, but I'll try looking. At the Sammers, after a sumptuous lunch, the host and guests gathered at the activity room to chat, and they agreed to play Texas together. Interesting rumors and humorous stories echoed intermittently as Klein maintained his smile, interjecting from time to time. He also saw the Sammers family's 2 children enter and exiting energetically. And next to him, Jurgen Cooper wore his usual serious expression, occasionally providing legal advice for the discussion. Klein smiled and said, "You bored?" "No. Their topics are very interesting." Jurgen nodded seriously. "Then why don't you laugh?" Jurgen frowned slightly and looked at him in puzzlement. "Why are you smiling?" Klein's mouth twitched, not knowing how to respond. He was about to make a joke about how much Jurgen was like his cat Brody, forever serious, when suddenly he heard a series of ethereal pleas. "Miss Justice has found useful information. I need to use the restroom." In the bathroom, he locked the door and it went above the grey fog. His judgment was very accurate as the plea came from Miss Justice. Klein suddenly felt nervous and emanated the spirituality and anticipation and seriousness. They discovered the clue you provided at the Worker Alliance Tavern. The person's nickname is Giant. After tailing the Giant and finding his in and outs, they discovered a person suspected to be Lanavis at the East Balam Dock Union. Temporarily, they didn't dare approach him because the Giant is very powerful and dangerous. They can only continue waiting for an opportunity. In the meantime, they've also asked if they could notify the police and collect the bounty after confirming it's Lanavis. Lanavis has a powerful and dangerous helper. Does he have other helpers? Is there a faction backing him? Why did he kill so many people? What's he planning on doing in the Dock Union? A series of questions flashed past Klein's mind, making him feel things were much more complicated than expected. As for the last request, his answer was undoubtedly yes. He would even suggest to the party that they should inform the Church of the Evernight Goddess because there was a possibility of the police leaking the information. Getting the Nighthawks to kill Lanavis is also a form of revenge, Klein muttered to himself. He had a strong urge to immediately confirm the man was Lanavis, lest things changed because he waited too long. He took a deep breath and suppressed his emotions and did a spirit divination. There's danger going to the dock union. After closing his eyes and chanting it 7 times, he discovered it was motionless. The divination failed. If I made a super addictive new drug at home, it's not illegal for me to make it for myself. I guess technically true because it wouldn't be coded as anything. But I promise that's harder than it would appear. He changed the sentence he used changed the divination method, but they all failed. For some reason, he thought of 3 reasons. After some careful thought, he thought of 3 reasons. First, there wasn't enough information. Second, Lanavis wasn't at the dock union, making it difficult for the divination to succeed. And third, Lanavis was like Inkzone Quill, who had items that could shield against divination. An item to shield against divination, a benefit he obtained from the God Spawn ritual, a little godhood of the true creator. Klein thought for a few seconds and decided that no matter what, he had to make the trip. There were certain things that that needed to be done, even though danger was a certainty. If the 2 ladies were able to observe secretly without being seen, so can I. I only need to meet Lanavis once to confirm the divination. But I can't be rash. I have to prepare. For example, I have to send the black eye above the grey fog and not carry it with me. That's to prevent the spiritual corruption of the true creator from resonating with his godhood. Oh, that's very clever. That wouldn't have even occurred to me. Another, I should elevate my height so that Klein wouldn't recognize me as the passerby from last night from my figure. So that the giant, rather, wouldn't recognize me as the passerby. For example, I should find a suitable and sufficient reason not to arouse suspicion. I can pretend to be a reporter and head there for an interview. I'll visit Mike Joseph and borrow his false reporter information or identification. The corner of Klein's mouth slowly curled up as he blanketed his body with his spirituality and descended back into the real world. Alright. Last chapter, and then we'll do the next fucking Jesus Christ 10, 11 at night. Oh my god. Ooh. 3 in the afternoon at the dock union in the East Balam dock. Klein wore a thick sweater, a tan jacket, and a simple cap that brought him close to the usual investigative reporters in style, rather than the ones who attended banquets and interviewed people of status from time to time. Such a costume cost him an extra pound and 10 soli. Who would remember the height of... The height one I get, that one I probably would have come up with myself, just because I don't think he said like Lanavis would remember him as a passerby. I think he said the giant would remember him, because the giant would remember him because he would have sensed that someone came up the stairs, went to the bathroom, and then just never came out of the bathroom. Like, he would remember that guy as a beyonder. So and not marketed, it will be legal. At that moment, he was wearing gold-rimmed glasses, and his hair was neatly combed back, gleaming with the luster of hair oil. His face no longer had a messy beard, so he could only plaster a deep black stubble around his lips. His height was at least 5 centimeters taller than before. He was trying his best to make it look different from the worker from last night, making it impossible for anyone who wasn't particularly familiar with him to make any associations. And plus, Beyonder memories are better than normal people, exactly. In the pockets of his clothes and trousers, there was no all black eye, no charms, no herbal essence, only a deck of tarot cards, a stack of notes, a fountain pen, a wallet, some change, a bunch of keys, and a false reporter documents. He didn't know Lanavis's current condition, nor did he know whether the powerful Beyonder lingering around him came from. Hence, out of precaution, he didn't bring any suspicious items. Substance. He had looked at the two-story building ahead of him. Klein crossed the street, pretending not to rely on the clown's intuition to notice the several pair of eyes watching him. He pushed open He pushed open the door and saw the dock union's layout was rather simple. There was no female receptionist or spacious lobbies. The stairs to the second floor were in the middle, flanked by office corridors, and the floors weren't lined with wooden planks, much less carpets. They were paved purely out of cement. Klein turned his head to look at the man guarding by the door and went over and said, "I'm a reporter of the Backland Daily Tribune. I'd like to interview the workers of your association to get to know your needs and desires." The man was wearing a very patched jacket which had become dirty, and the cotton lining exposed, and the linen shirt underneath. After hearing the words reporter, he immediately became vigilant. "No. We haven't organized a strike lately. No." "I think you misunderstand. I'm someone who sympathizes with you. I'm planning on doing a special report on what the union does to help workers and their actual difficulties. Trust me." With the help of the clown's Beyonder powers, he made his eyes look very sincere. "Is that so?" "Go to Mr. Rand, our committee member in charge of publicity. Turn right. It's the second office on the right." The man hesitated before replying. "Thank you," Klein bowed. He turned his right hand and, with his back perspiring in cold sweat, knocked on the office door. Romero, you should watch. There's a great documentary on this. It's called Breaking Bad. You should watch it. It's something very similar. Mr. Rand, I'm the reporter Statham from the Backland Daily Tribune. This is my identification documents. I'd like to make a report with unions as the theme to help you acquire more attention. Klein almost believed he was a journalist. "That's me." The middle-aged man looked at the reporter identification documents and said, "It's hard for me to believe that you reporters are here to help us. I was born in the East Borough. I know how miserable the lives of workers are. If you don't believe me, you can follow me the entire time and monitor every question. A report with actual interview data would be better than nothing. Far better than news that's written purely on imagination. At least you can provide your views and hopefully guide things in the direction you want." I watched that documentary. It inspired me a lot as a child. I was in East Borough. Nope. All right then. Rand touched his scalp and replied hesitantly, "I'll follow you the entire time." "Thank you." Klein almost lost control of his emotion. Afterward, under the guidance of Rand, he entered one office after another, interviewing members of the Workers' Association according to his prepared questions. Right corridor, nothing. Left corridor, nothing. He went up the wooden stairs to the second floor. This time, Rand led him directly to the office opposite the staircase and introduced, This is a reporter from the Backland Daily Tribune, Mr. Statham. He wants to interview the lot of you, but I have to remind you that that there are questions which you have the right to refuse to answer." Klein smiled, took 2 steps forward, made a gesture with each of his to shake hands with each and every staff member in the room. At that moment, he saw a slightly familiar figure. Although the man's skin had turned bronze, his round face became slightly angular, and the glasses had changed from a round face to a gold-rimmed frame. He still remembered the traces of his familiarity from his spirituality as a seer. Immediately after, his body trembled, and the smile on his face was almost out of control. "I'm sorry, I have a stomach ache. May I ask where the bathroom is?" Klein asked with an awkward smile. Rand and the staff didn't suspect anything. They all pointed to the door and said, "Go out, turn left. When you reach the end, you'll see the sign." Klein smiled apologetically, walked out of the room, and headed quickly for the bathroom. Inside, he selected the cubicle closest to the window, sat on the toilet, locked the door, bent down, the corners of his mouth curving into a silent laugh. He laughed so hard that he nearly couldn't keep his body straight. A drop of sparkling liquid fell onto the ground from his laughter. Klein had confirmed it was Lanavis. When will you stream next? Might push through. Next stream will be in... Sorry, I'm just trying to do the math. 8.5 hours from now. I gotta drive. See y'all later. Alright, thanks for popping by, Full. This was, you know what this reminds me of? What Klein's doing right here? This whole thing from Kira. That's right, Elle. This is my perfect victory. There hasn't even been a fight yet. Great timing for the next stream. Yeah, it'll be the same time as regular. I know the timings are kind of hit or miss for people. That's why I try to split them up at 12-hour intervals so that hopefully at some level it kind of works for the most amount of people as possible. I try to do it. Okay, today was a little bit later than usual, I acknowledge, but normally it's like 11 a.m. and 11 p.m. for me, so that hopefully the timings scatter around so that people wherever you're from can watch it. This wasn't because of the small sense of familiarity, but because he felt another type of aura from the body, one that left a deep impression on him. That was the main reason why he had nearly lost control on the spot. The trembling of his body was from instinctive fear. The collapse of his emotion and horror came from within his memories. That was the aura of the true creator. The streams are just in between my sleep. Hold on, so does that mean it keeps you awake, or it's like before and after you go to sleep? That's around 6:30 for me, the same time I leave home for work. Ah, look at that. At least it has some kind of schedule. Yeah, I try to have a schedule, and obviously I know schedule is kind of a thing where, like, if my schedule, both of the streams don't work for you, then it's super shitty for that person. Totally get it. But at least for as many people as it works. Oh, I meant to say my sleep in the middle. Oh, I see. But I can't wake up early. Just that way, at least the people who can make it have like a set thing, right? Like they can plan around it, whether they have to go to school, go to work, go to do like, whatever stuff or study or whatever. Because otherwise, like if I'm just streaming whenever, it kind of feels worse for you guys. So I try to have a schedule. It doesn't always work out. Like today was later than usual because last night's stream went way longer than anticipated. I sleep at 2 a.m., wake up at 5 or 6. Ew, oh my god. Do you take a nap in the middle of the day, Ramiro? Klein washed his face, went on with the interview as if nothing had happened. Even when facing Lanavis, who had somehow changed so much, he continued to ask questions and record the answers. After finishing all this, he bade farewell to the association and walked out of the dimly lit building. Outside, the sky was cloudy and misty, as if the evening had come early. The true creator's aura can only come from his body or spawn, as well as things that extend from the two. For example, items bestowed with him or his godhood that corroborate what Lanavis said to Hood Yugen. In addition, there's a tinge of familiarity. I didn't even need to go above the grey fog to confirm it's him. If it wasn't for me having had already interacted with the true creator a few times and coming close to his mental corruption, there's no way I could recognize that aura to be his. Klein felt heavy emotions but appeared very relaxed. He stood on the street purposefully and organized the interview notes. In the process, he caught a glimpse of a slightly familiar figure across the tramps from him. Miss Gio. Klein immediately made a guess. He didn't stop. He put away his notes before walking towards the tracked public carriage. At this moment, a horse carriage suddenly stopped. We meet again. This is Isengard, yeah. Sitting in the carriage was a thin, elegant gentleman. He was the great detective, Isengard. As for Klein, he didn't look any different than usual, just a little taller and had changed into a new set of clothes. What a coincidence. I was just thinking about the last time I interviewed you, Klein answered. I'm here to investigate a case, the death of Cyber, who had been eliminated, and I'm in charge of it. Her death is very close to the East Balam dock, so it's indeed a copycat crime, Klein feigned ignorance. After exchanging a few pleasantries, he got onto the tracked public carriage. Instead of going home, he made a transfer and headed home to the Quaylock Club. In the club's lounge, he went above the grey fog to confirm no one had followed him. Only at this step did Klein completely relax and feel some lingering fear. The aura of the true creator lingered in his mind like a nightmare, leaving the clothes on his back moist and after they repeatedly dried. To be sure, Klein conjured a yellowish-brown goatskin and a dark red fountain pen before writing a divination statement, the source of the inexplicable familiarity earlier. After putting down his pen, he fell back into his chair and mumbled as he entered his dreams. In that grey illusory world, he saw a figure. The figure had ordinary facial features, wore round glasses, and a condescending and taunting smile. It was none other than Lanavis. I finally found you. Klein no longer used his ability to control his facial expressions. Then he sat up and prepared to answer Miss Justice's prayer. There's no need for confirmation. That is Lanavis. You can inform the Church of the Evernight and tell them that Lanavis has the godhood of the fallen creator. Audrey, who was watching her father train the hunting hounds with Susie, froze as she heard Mr. Fool's response. Fallen creator? Isn't that the true creator? That swindler actually has the godhood of the true creator? Such a simple mission involves the godhood of a true creator? I knew Mr. Fool had deeper motivations. He was targeting the true creator, as expected of Mr. Fool. Many thoughts flashed through Audrey's mind. Let's go! 285. Alright, we got through it in, 2 hours on the dot? Yeah, 157. That was good timing. Shit. Alrighty. Thank you so much, everyone, for another fantastic stream. If there's anyone here who's not currently in the Discord and you're interested in joining, consider the description should be in the video description and the main channel. The next stream will be in just a little over 10 just about 10 hours, basically. No, that can't be right. Hold on. 9 hours. Am I fucking 8? Holy shit. 8 hours. I'm losing my fucking mind. Sorry. Holy shit. My god. Sorry, I'm really sleepy. 8 hours. I apologize. I'll try to, if you're in the Discord, I'll try to give you guys a heads up. And then we will get all the way to 295. Hopefully some cool shit will happen. And I will catch y'all later. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Have a great rest of your... Sorry, Nightwalker. I'm so sorry.